Hi, my name is Heather, and welcome to another episode of Season 2 of Cover to Cover Canva Edition, my series where I share my process with you creating a children's book using Canva elements. I'll include my copyright reminder here. And remember, this isn't a tutorial, so if you'd like more step-by-step instructions, then check out the videos that I'll link in the description. I want to start off by saying I'm getting over being sick, so sorry if I sound a little nasally. Last episode, we made this page of this other family coming over to the bus stop. And for this episode, I want to do 2 pages. The next 2 pages have text on them, which is different than all the pages up to this point. Because up to this point, we had text on the left and the image on the right. But the next 2 pages have text, so we'll be having the text on the same page as the image. The page on the left says, "We heard the school bus coming loudly down the street. It was filled with other children. There were new friends to meet." And the page on the right says, "We sat down together and waved goodbye from inside. We were very excited about our first ride." For the page on the left, we can have the school bus coming down the street like it describes. And for the page on the right, we can have the school bus with the kids in it waving goodbye. But we don't want them to look too much like each other. So we don't want to have just the school bus coming on the street and then the school bus coming on the street with Joey in it, because that's going to be way too repetitive. So I think that what we could do is for the one on the left, we can have it more zoomed out where the school bus is little and they're seeing it coming down the street. And then for the page on the right, it can be more zoomed in so that you can really see Joey waving from inside. And that way we can still give it some variety in the way that it looks. So for the page on the left, we heard the school bus coming loudly down the street. Since it's going to be far away, I'm thinking maybe we can have like some hills with a little street coming through. Let's go to elements and just search for street and see what we can find. I'm not finding any streets where it's like really far in the distance, so let me maybe search for hills, because what I'm picturing is a bunch of hills kind of going far away in the distance. This one is actually really similar to what I'm thinking, but we actually used this in this other picture. But one thing we could do is if we just flip it, then maybe it won't be super noticeable that it's the same picture. And also because this one has a street in it, we took out the street in the other one. And I'm going to change the color of the street to be gray. And here's one thing I try to be super careful of is when you're looking at your bleed here, I have the edge of the tree coming right to the edge of the page here. And that could actually cause a KDP error because you either want your elements to be inside of the bleed, so the tree would need to be way inside of it, or you want it to be actually getting cut off like this, where it's like very obvious and you're basically kind of committing all the way to cutting it off. I do explain this more in my KDP error guide video, so definitely check that out. But basically, I have definitely seen people's books getting rejected because they have elements right up against the edge of the page here. Since this is the edge of the design, we can't pull it in anymore. So what I'm going to do is just pull it over so that it's actually fully getting cut off here. And that should be fine because it's not the edge of an image. It's actually an image that we intentionally put there that's going to get cut off. Hopefully that makes sense. But my other video does go into a little more depth in explaining that. Let's copy over the sky color. So I'm going to click on the background here and copy, and then I'll click on this background and paste. And then let's go ahead and find a school bus that we can have coming down the street. A sideways school bus isn't really going to work because the road is coming this way. So we probably would need it at an angle. This one looks pretty good, but it has black outlines, so it doesn't match the style of the artwork that we're using. So I'm going to get rid of that. Let's look at this one. That could maybe work. Let me grab that one and grab the background, maybe make them a little bit bigger. I think that'll work. Now, the other thing is that if we're going to have two scenes next to each other, I do usually like to have one kind of in a bubble or in, some kind of vignette or something, just so that it doesn't kind of look like you have a spread when it's not really a spread. So we just need to decide whether this scene is going to be in the bubble or the next scene. I usually like to pick the simpler scene to go in the bubble because we're going to be making the scene smaller in order to fit in the bubble. So it's going to work a lot better with a simpler scene. And I think this scene is super simple. So this one will be really easy to just stick inside a bubble or a frame. And if you're familiar with canvas frames, then you know that you can't take multiple elements and put them in a frame. So I have these frames and I have them for sale on my website also. And these are the ones that I usually use if I want to frame an entire scene. So I'm just going to choose one of these and I'll just make it bigger. And I'm going to make it white. And then sometimes you might have a little bit of extra up here. So I'll just make a rectangle and I'll make the rectangle white. And I'll just fill that in. And now I could just position the scene a little bit better because as you could see, there's like a little bit of the tree here. There's a little random blade of grass. So let's make this a little more intentional. I'm going to go to my layers and I'll select the bus and the background. And I'll just kind of move these around. I could resize them. I think that looks pretty good. I would like to add just a little something extra to the scene because right now I feel like it's a little boring. We could maybe add like a little animal here. Let's find maybe a squirrel. This is cute. And we can add some tufts of grass. Let's find a little bush that we can add. This is cute. We can put it underneath the frame. And I'll just change the colors so that they go more with the colors of the picture. We could maybe add some trees in the background. I'm going to change the colors of this tree to match the other colors in the picture. And I'm going to copy these colors over to this other tree. So I have this tree selected and I'm just going to click copy style and then I'll click the new tree. And then I can modify these a little bit if I want to, just to give it a little more variety. Maybe I'll put a little bird in the sky. But this time it's going to be more of like just a little silhouette of a bird because it's going to be all the way up in the sky and it's going to be like this big. So we don't want to have any details. So I can grab these birds and I'll just pick one of these and I'll crop the rest out. And I'll just make it really little and put them up here. And I'm going to put a little tuft of grass underneath the tree here. I think that'll do for this page. And for the next page, we're going to have the kids waving from inside the bus. So I'm going to move this text up. Oh, and since we're going to have text at the top of the page on 2 pages, we do want them to be aligned. So I'm just going to look at the first page and figure out where exactly this is going to line up. So I can line it up right with that safe zone line. And so the one underneath, I will also line this up with the safe zone. And that way they will be aligned when they're next to each other. First, I'm going to copy the sky color over again. And I'm going to want to have the bus. So let's search for a bus. And this time we want it from the side. And we will want it to look similar to the one that we have there. So I just realized something, which is that I flipped this bus, and so the word school bus is going the other way. And then also the doors on the school bus are on the wrong side. So we're going to have that actually flipped back. But I do still want it in the distance, so I'm going to just flip the background back around. And I'll just move these other things that I have. I think that works a lot better. I think this school bus would maybe work for this second page. We could maybe have it like this, and then we'll just have Joey and maybe another kid waving from inside. And I can actually just copy the road that we already made from this page. So I'm going to go to position. I'll just grab this whole thing right here and copy it and paste. And I can just pull it down, and then I'm just going to make it bigger here. And I can go ahead and ungroup it so I can take this bottom piece off. I like that, but the bus does kind of blend in with the road a bit. So I'm going to grab the road and I'll just make it a little bit darker. Here's something very important that you might not notice about this page, which is we actually have text that is going outside of the safe zone, and that's this school bus text. Even though this is part of the image, Amazon KDP is going to see that, and it's going to throw an error and say that you have text outside of the safe zone. And I have seen this in action, and I've seen books fail because of this. So even if you have text that is part of the background, you can't have it outside of the safe zone. So we could pull this in like that, so the text is inside the safe zone, and maybe make the bus a little smaller so it's not too much over that way. Now we have the text inside of the safe zone. Or alternatively, we could have like covered up that text with a shape or something like that. Now I'm just going to grab Joey so he could be waving out of the bus. So here's Joey, and I'll copy him and I'll paste him here. And we're just going to have his little face looking out here. So I can go ahead and ungroup this, and I can get rid of this other stuff here. And his body, I'll just crop off the bottom of it so that just his little head is sticking up here. And now it looks like his little head is sticking out the window. And I'm going to go back and group all of his little pieces here. And then we can put some of the other kids in the windows also. So we have this little kid here, so I'll copy him and paste him. And he can be right here, so I'll just crop him by just double clicking on the element. Let's also add this girl. She does kind of cover up the curve right here, so I'm just going to grab a curve. This one looks perfect. And I'll just make it the same color as the school bus. And I'll just cover that corner right there. And then we do have this little part here, which was her little stuffed animal. And I would definitely like that to be gone too, especially because it's just kind of sitting here outside of the bleed area. So I'm just going to make a rectangle, and I'll just make it the same color as the inside of the window there. And I'll just go ahead and cover that up. And since her bow is outside of the bleed as well, I think I'll just maybe size her down a little bit so I can kind of pull that in. I think that looks pretty good, but we could add a little bit of extra details, of course, just to make it look a little more interesting. And of course, the first thing I always like to do is a little tuft of grass. So we can put this like right in the front here. Maybe add some little flowers here. That gives it some really good extra dimension there. I'll add a little cloud. And I feel like we could maybe put a little bird. These birds are super cute. They can be flying alongside the bus. Maybe they're up here and they're following the bus. We have our 2 pages done, and since we do have 2 pages side by side, I do want to see what they look like as a spread. So let's preview this in Simplebooklet. I'm going to go to Share, More, Simplebooklet Flip, and I'll do All Pages and Save. And in case you're new to my videos, Simplebooklet is what I love to use just to preview what the book is going to look like. It's a great tool for previewing your spreads and for getting kind of a visual flip through of what your book is going to look like before you publish it. And it is free to use. You can have one booklet on there for free. And we can also see what our other pages looked like with those little extra embellishments that we added last time. So this is with the little juice box and the apple there. And we put those butterflies here. And the little bird here. I do really like that. I definitely think it gives it a little something extra over on that page on the left that has the text on it. And here are our pages from today. So we have our school bus coming down the road here, our little squirrel, and here's our characters looking out of the school bus as it's going. I think this looks good, and I like how these 2 pages look side by side. So let me know what you think in the comments. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Or as always, you can email me at heather@heathercash.com. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so I know to make more videos like this. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!